Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that y'all are here. My name is Natalie Johnson, and I am the Partnership Development Lead here at ParentPowered, and I will be moderating today's conversation. A little background about me: I came to ParentPowered with 14 years of experience in education and a drive to continue my work supporting students and meeting families where they are. Today, I am joined with two of my colleagues who will be sharing more about our evidence-based approach to family engagement. Up first is my colleague, Weezy Howe, our Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships, and she'll be sharing some insights into our approach and how we support families of students from early childhood all the way through 12th grade. Weezy will then hand it off to Rebecca Honig, our Chief Content Curriculum Officer, who will take us on a deep dive into how we support attendance at all ages and stages of development. And we'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers, but please don't hold back and feel free to put your questions in the Q&A at any time. Now, without further ado, take it away, Weezy.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today to learn more about Parent Powered and our approach to authentic low-lift family engagement. As Natalie mentioned, I am Weezy. I am Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Parent Powered, and my role is really focused on developing relationships with state agencies, thought leaders, local communities, districts, and schools to drive positive outcomes for students across the U.S. Prior to joining Parent Powered, I worked for national and international organizations, including Sesame Street, and Great Schools, and Giving Assistant. I also have three daughters, a 2, 8, and 11-year-olds. A 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. So navigating many ages and various stages on a daily basis is what I'm typically doing. And I'm beyond grateful to have access to the support of the Parent Powered curriculum. So like Natalie mentioned, today I'm going to walk you through our approach, provide insights into our 2 key curricula, and then I'll hand it off to my colleague Rebecca to share more about how the program supports strong attendance through messages that are really aimed at increasing parent-child communication and student sense of connection and belonging in school. So I think we have a slide deck up here, and we can go ahead and advance to the next slide too. That was just a quick intro. So starting with research on why family engagement matters. So why do we engage families in their child's learning and development? It really is because we know it works. We know that a child's learning success depends not only what happens in school, but what happens at home. And research shows that a strong connection between home and school means better outcomes for students and teachers and families and schools. So that's why developing family-school partnerships is really critical for academic achievement and school improvement. So this slide here really highlights what that research tells us. So when, left to right, when families prioritize family engagement, teachers are more satisfied, school climate is better, and parents are more involved. And when families are more involved in schools, they have better support and more access to resources. They learn how to advocate for their children, and they're more engaged in their children's learning. And when families are more engaged, the parent-child relationship improves. Children are regulated and ready to learn. Kids are getting better grades, and math and reading scores increase, and attendance and graduation rates also increase, ultimately leading children to do better in school and in life. And, we focus on breaking down I'll kind of back up and talk a little bit about the approach. We focus on breaking down the complexity of engaged parenting into really small, easy to achieve steps that families can use anywhere at any time to engage with their child. So we're reaching families 3 times a week all year long during the school year and the summer months with really standards aligned family engagement curriculum that is leveled for the child's age and stage of development. It's really designed to support learning, developmental, and well-being from birth all the way through 12th grade. I'll quickly walk you through kind of what the parents' experience is like on the receiving end of these supports in the next slide. So this is a week of messaging from our core or whole child program for a 3rd grade student under the domain of literacy. So we always start our program on a Monday with a fact message, just orienting the families around a specific skill and explaining why it's important for the development of their child. So fact, at this age, kids work to express their own unique thoughts and ideas. It's an amazing skill. It helps them thrive in literacy and everything else they do. Then on Wednesdays, we send a tip message. And the tip message, this really offers an activity for building the skill of the week during an everyday moment or daily routine. So tip, spark self-expression with questions before bed. Try questions that start with what if? What if you were the teacher tomorrow? What would you teach? And then on Fridays, we send a growth message. And this is offering up a dose of encouragement and giving families one more way to grow the skill of the week and take it a little further. So growth, keep asking questions to spark self-expression. Now add questions to your morning routine. Try, what's one thing you hope will happen today? And all of the curriculum is carefully sequenced and scoped, and we're spiraling every 5th week of the program, just really deepening the learning over time. And we know the work is complex and nuanced, and we know that it shifts at every age and stage of development. For parents to partner in ways that are truly support the learning within the shifting school context, from preschool to elementary to middle and then high, these efforts need to change and grow along with the student. So parents are a child's first teacher, and children do best when the family, the school, and the community all work in concert to really support them from birth through high school. So our approach really focuses on exactly this, growing right along with the child and giving families those just right tips and strategies to really support the evolving parent-child relationship. And we can go to the next slide thing. And at every age and stage, we undergo a really highly specialized comprehensive curriculum development process. So starting with an extensive literature review of current research and best practices, we also conduct a nationwide standards crosswalk to ensure we're aligned. As that is also going on, we're bringing in the voices and lived experiences of those most connected to the families we serve, conducting listening sessions with administrators, educators, family engagement specialists, and community health workers across diverse settings and geographies. And we're also conducting listening sessions with parents and caregivers. And in the case of our high school program, we're bringing in students as well. So we really make sure that we are hearing from those that truly represent the diverse experiences and identities of the families we're ultimately serving. And adding to this, we bring on advisors with really unique expertise in the content areas we cover. This has taken us across the country and includes collaborations with mental health and specialists and pediatricians, counselors, youth workers, and newcomer support agencies. We also put our programs in front of states and districts again and again, looking through the lens of unique community needs. And we continue to listen in a really ongoing way through our quarterly surveys, which give us the opportunity to learn from the families on the receiving end about what's working and where they need more support. So it's a really intensive process. And what does this mean? What does this look like in practice? So the next slide, I'll kind of show you what these frameworks and the outcomes of all of that work that we do in the content or the curriculum development process looks like. So this is our curricular framework in the preschool years. So as you see, in the classroom, as you're working to build a community of learners and engage in literacy, math, and science exploration, we're sending parents activities on how to support a love of learning, number sense, phonemic awareness, and like things like rhyming with everyday objects as they cook. We're also reaching them with activities to build their child's sense of self and their ability to share and manage big feelings. And then moving to the elementary years, as you're working in the classroom to really build strong readers and mathematical thinkers and meet learning standards across all of the domains, we're giving parents ways to support these standards at home. But we're also messaging them with tips and tricks to support strong executive function skills and resilience and problem solving and healthy routines, like establishing strong sleep routines or morning routines so that kids show up every day ready to focus and learn. Then in the middle school years, this is where engagement can tend to drop off. We're keeping families engaged as partners, giving them developmentally appropriate ways to support learning while also encouraging and leveraging that child's independence. So we help them understand adolescent development and how to help their kids remain excited about school through strong academic socialization. We also offer up tips to help the middle schoolers navigate friendships and make healthy choices and also self-advocate. And then moving into high school. So we position the parents as partners really in their teens post-secondary planning. So helping the teen to really reflect on their strengths and interests and set personally meaningful goals around next steps. In these years, we also focus on strategies that build and maintain open communication and active listening at home so that parents remain a strong guide and touch point in their teens' lives, even as they get ready to launch into adulthood. And we offer a ton of ways to support strong attendance, healthy relationships, like safe technology habits, and much, much more. And so now I'll shift over and talk a little bit about our trauma-informed curriculum. So at the beginning, I mentioned we have two key kind of curricula streams. So this is our most intensive curriculum, and it's really designed to help families buffer the effects of trauma and then connect them with critical local resources within their community. It's aligned with the Strengthening Families Protective Factors framework, which you see here on the screen. This sets forth 5 qualities or characteristics that help parents and caregivers buffer the effects of trauma on their children. It was reviewed and informed by mental health providers, trauma experts, pediatricians, community health workers, and more. Most importantly, families impacted by trauma. And it has this additional community support stream, which links families to resources like healthcare and food access and other essential supports. And so what makes it trauma informed? So as I mentioned, we took the whole child curriculum from our core program and we aligned it in these kind of 4 key areas. And we added additional supports, including a secondary message stream that I just mentioned to connect those families to the critical local resources. So in those 4 kind of key areas of alignment, we focus on parental resilience. And this is all about helping parents build capacity to cue into their own needs so that they can parent strong when they're stressed. Social connections, we're helping families build supportive connections within their schools and communities. Social and emotional competence of children is really about helping parents cue into their child's emotions and respond in ways that are really just right for that child, and then help them manage their feelings and relationships. And then knowledge of parenting and child development, we help the parents understand what kids are learning and then give them the tips and activities to support those academic benchmarks within the home environment. And we added supports to account for the impact of trauma. So we scaffold, sequence, and edit our academic messages to really account for anything that might be activating or activating experiences that are kind of coming out of a parent's own time in school. We also scoured all of the trauma-informed curriculum for any potential references that could be activating. And we added twice as much social emotional learning support for children to really help them navigate adversity and challenge and self-regulate. We also send regular messaging on parental self-care, parental resilience, and executive functions so that really to help the adults tend to their own needs so they can further support their child. So I just want to share a little bit about what that community support stream looks like. This is the secondary messaging stream that we refer to as our community support stream. And this is what they look like side by side. The focus of this supplemental messaging stream is really about connecting families to resources and supports right there in their community. So left is the curriculum, the right is the curated messages that we refer to as connect messages, and links families directly out to things like food and housing assistance, cultural centers, mental health supports, language supports, and much, much more. And our team guides partners through a community asset mapping process to create these connect messages. And then we just really focus on making it easy for families to find the resources when they need them most. So whether it be a click or a phone number, it's right there, ready to go. And through the entire family engagement journey, from birth all the way through 12th grade, we really work to build and support trust and partnership between home and school, strengthen advocacy, support attendance, orient families around school-based requirements and transitions, and connect them with those resources. And we work to break down traditional barriers to engagement. So offering families strategies for communicating with their school and ways to navigate school-based systems that really can seem overwhelming. But at every age and stage, our tips and strategies are rooted in what is proven to work, evidence-based practices. We know that your families are unique, which is why we're offering several programs and the ability to version the content to best respond to your needs and the strengths and needs of your families. So now I'm going to hand things over to my colleague Rebecca, who will talk a little bit about one of these key areas specifically, which is how we support attendance. And with that, take it away, Rebecca.
Great. Thank you, Wheezy. My colleagues had to remind me to introduce myself because I have a tendency to I get so excited about the content, I forget to tell people who I am. And then they're like, who is this lady? Does she even work for this company? So I will establish that right off the bat. I am Rebecca Honig, and I'm the Chief Content and Curriculum Officer at ParentPowered. So I work with a really amazing team to write all of our content, develop our curricular scope and sequences, and really collaborate with partners and parents and experts across the country to get the right supports into families' hands. And we're going to just take a little bit of a deep dive into attendance right now. We know that attendance is a strong priority for all of you. I'm sure many of you are aware the federal administration just named it as the #1 focus of its Improving Student Achievement Agenda for 2024. And as you all know, it's because we are in an attendance crisis like we have never seen before. Many of you may be aware of these statistics, but nationwide chronic absenteeism has soared from 15% in 2018 to 28% in 2022. I will say the absenteeism rates did improve slightly in 2023, but still remain 75% higher than the pre-pandemic baseline. And though absenteeism has increased for all district types, rates are highest in districts with higher poverty, affecting 1 in 3 students. So though these are staggering statistics, and they truly are, if we go to the next slide, we can have a look at there is so much we can do to collectively ensure that school is a place that draws students and families in and then holds them, right? As we think about how to do this, we've come to really love the framework that Attendance Works has created for explaining the 4 conditions that can impact attendance. And those include physical and emotional health and safety, and belonging, connectedness and support, academic challenge and engagement, and adult and student well-being and emotional competence. And when we look at the center of this framework, we can see that relationships live at the intersection of all of these conditions, right? They are absolutely essential for any of these positive learning conditions to occur. So at ParentPowered, of course, we look at this and we say, well, that center is where family engagement lives, right? It is where families and schools come together. They form that relationship, that partnership in support not only of individual students, but also the entire school community. So it is no wonder that when defining the critical strategies that support these conditions, and if we go to the next slide, we can see that, right? You see family engagement is right there at the top. As you know, we exist to boost family engagement and to support parents as partners in their child's learning. And Wheezy has just beautifully walked you through so many of the ways that we do this. But we also wanted to highlight some of the ways that we more directly address attendance and those conditions and supports that are necessary at every phase of development to really support strong attendance. So we'll look at some of those ways right now. Okay, so a couple things to highlight. In the preschool years, and you all know this, right? It is a huge transition for both parents and children. And we know that it can be a challenging one too. It's where we are collectively adjusting to the systems and environments of school. So of course, in our program, we offer lots of tips and strategies for navigating this transition because we know attendance can drop off when it's particularly challenging. So we work on setting up strong routines to help parents and kids, for example, separate at the start of the school day. You can see on your screen right now, right? Fact, it's a big job for kids this age to head off to school each day. It's normal for this transition to bring big emotions. Having a goodbye routine can help. Tip, come up with a way to say goodbye at the start of the school day. For example, you and your child might share 3 hugs and a high five. And then we continue with now come up with a hello routine you can share when you see each other after school. For example, doing a silly dance or asking a fun question, right? We know these are evidence-based strategies for making that transition from the home to the school a little bit easier for families. We also help establish connections between parents and teachers, knowing that this too is a huge driver of strong attendance. And also, this is really the first time in a parent's journey that they are in this dynamic of having the opportunity to form relationships with teachers. We know strong relationships with teachers in the preschool years is going to lay the foundation for that to continue on throughout a child's journey in school. And we learned early on in our listening sessions with parents of preschool families that actually, though this may be their first time in school with their child, it is not their first time in school. And they may be coming into this experience with a lot of preconceived notions. So a very interesting thing happened early on. We were developing content for preschool families. We held a listening session, and parents were coming up with all these wonderful activities they wanted to do at home and to build connections at school. And then a parent raised their hand and they said, well, honestly, I don't know how I'm going to make any of this happen because my student's teacher doesn't like me. And all the teachers in the room started nodding. Yeah, me too. My teacher doesn't like me either. My child's teacher doesn't like me either. So of course we stopped there and we started unpacking, like, what is happening in this moment that's giving you this impression? What we came to find out is that a lot of families were attempting to connect at drop-off when teachers seemed like they didn't want to talk because they were distracted, right? They were setting up the classroom, they were welcoming students in, they needed to be focused on students. So we realized we had work to do in helping families establish communication with teachers, knowing when to reach out, knowing the right times to reach out, because we were kind of up against a lot of preconceived notions that parents were coming into the school with, the teacher doesn't like me, that we had to overcome in order for that family to have positive relationships with the school. So you see a lot of that type of messaging in our preschool years, and that is in the service of establishing those strong relationships, feelings of connections and belonging right off the bat. If we go on to the next slide, we're in the elementary school years, right, where we know that missed days has an even more profound impact on learning. So we very directly communicate this right at the start of our elementary school program year after year. Why does strong attendance matter? And we spell it out not only in regards to the student, right? Why does it matter to your child? But we also talk with families about why it matters to the entire learning community, and that they are a part of a learning community, moving together at the same pace. So when we talk about not only sort of the responsibility the parent has to their own child, but also the whole learning community, we frame it as a group effort. We also have a lot of messaging on setting up strong routines. So morning routines, sleep routines, practicing healthy habits, and of course, connecting families to critical resources and supports. You saw in our community support stream that we're able to link them to some of those necessities because we know this is an absolute foundation for strong attendance. We also are working in these years to build parents' sense of efficacy, advocacy, and belonging. And we're doing this by peeling back the curtain on what kids are learning in school and giving families everyday ways to support that learning at home so that everyone sees and can support the critical work that's happening at school each day. So again, it's building that community of learners that includes parents and that keeps families connected to school and really allows them to see the importance of showing up every day and on time. We also orient parents and caregivers around the how-tos of school-based systems, right? Like how to reach out about an absence, how to ask for help, how to locate school calendars and schedules so that families can plan ahead and book well visits in advance and make sure that they've got transportation on half days and have noted non-school days. This is really critical, as we know, to supporting strong attendance. And all along the way, we let families know to reach out with insights on their child so that the school can partner to support them in ways that they learn best, right? Because that sense of belonging that is so critical to strong attendance relies on kids feeling good about school. And we know research tells us, right, that kids feel good about school when they see themselves in the fabric of the school, when they feel known and when they feel heard and when they feel represented. So we're really working with families to remain in communication with their schools about their child's needs. All right, moving on to the middle school years, right? When this is the age, right, when parents and caregivers start to have a lot less visibility into school. And this is happening at a time that children may be pulling back too, right? They're moving into adolescence. They're working to individuate and find belonging with their peers. So it's a time when students may be offering up a lot less information to parents and caregivers about how school is going. So these are the years where we have a heavy focus on giving parents and caregivers developmentally supportive ways to stay in the loop so that they can address issues that may be affecting attendance. We have a heavy focus on active listening strategies here. We want to set parents and caregivers up with questions about school that kids are going to be excited to answer. And we want to help families really build those reflective practices so that they notice how their child seems to be feeling about school. Then we want to make sure, right, that we give parents support and encouragement in reaching out to share their observations. And you can see on your screen, that's the focus of one of the messages right there. And finally, in the high school years, where strong attendance has to be accompanied by strong student motivation to go to school, we have a heavy focus on what is commonly referred to as academic socialization. So this is basically helping adolescents to see all the ways that their passions and interests map right onto what they're learning in the school day. It's about finding personal meaning in school, right? And it has a profound effect on attendance and graduation rates. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation actually did a study on students who had dropped out of high school, and they found that 74% of these students actually had passing grades. And when asked when they quit, they said they didn't feel that what they were learning was relevant to them. They had career ideas in mind, but no one had been discussing with them how and what they were learning, how and why what they were learning pertained to their end goals. So we have a lot of supports around having these conversations and offering these supports at home so that students arrive at school seeing why it matters that they are there, why their classes matter, why strong attendance matters. Also critical at every age, but we'll just talk about it within the context of adolescence, is of course student mental health. As you can imagine, it's absolutely essential to continue supporting parents and caregivers in active listening, in noticing their students' healthy habits and areas where they might be needing additional support. Life is happening very quickly in these years, so we want to get everybody pausing and noticing and reaching out if they have a concern. And of course, this becomes an additional challenge in the high school years because as a parent or caregiver, it's hard to know how to reach out, who to call, what to say. So that's also a key area of our high school program when it comes to attendance, is really orienting families around these key points within the school that they can reach out to. And of course, another key condition necessary for strong attendance, and it's one that we've intentionally saved, is just to go back to that secondary community support stream. So at every age and stage, there are going to be community-based organizations that we can all be referring families to so that they can get more acute support for their needs. And that community support stream allows you to offer those connections and those supports. Another thing we include in that community support stream, however, are vetted links. So these are links that we've already looked at and we've popped in and written messages for, linking to things oftentimes related to supporting strong attendance. For example, resources that encourage families to identify their help bank, right? This is a wonderful resource by Attendance Works where families reflect on who can I ask for help if I have trouble getting my child to school. We can also, through this stream, link to your attendance resources, and our partners use this stream in so many creative ways. And what you see there with the Attendance Matters graphic, that's a district directly texting their parents their own resources around attendance, including, when does school start? When does school end? Though it may seem obvious, it's oftentimes critical to establish right off the bat. Here are the logistical requirements. So this community support stream allows you to do this for your individual school around your individual requirements around attendance. And then on the next screen, you can also see that we've created a lot of extensive supports around this topic. Up on your screen right now, you see that we've got general attendance supports, and then supports more targeted towards newcomer populations and populations with who may need additional orientation around the systems of school so that they can fully participate. I'm going to pass it back to Wheezy now, and I'm happy to answer more questions about attendance or anything else when we return to the Q&A section.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, and I'm just going to quickly walk us through kind of the how. So in terms of the programming, how do we get families enrolled? So everything we've really built for our partners is designed to help them reach as many families as possible, and then give them the ability to evaluate the impact of the program on their work. So starting with enrollment, research shows that using an opt-out method to enroll families in the texting program is the most equitable approach. So our program allows partners to upload all of their families in kind of one minimal click of uploading a data file. And when they get this, they upload the families and launch them, we generally see between a 90 to 95% participation rate in the program using that approach. We also, as a part of our programming, we're surveying families on a quarterly basis in text. We send them a research-based multiple choice question. If they respond, then we ask an open-ended question, and we're aggregating both that qualitative and quantitative results for all of our partners to see within that dashboard experience. And we also have access to, partners have access to a robust amount of data to really use to efficiently manage enrollment. They can also assess the impact of the program. There's high quality data visualizations. And then we also offer up those family resources that Rebecca had just kind of highlighted, the family facing ones, enrollment flyers, all of that within the dashboard itself. And so on the next slide, I just want to share a little bit. So these are some of the voices from our national program of families. This is across the country, but it really highlights how the curriculum is really, parents are saying it's increasing their confidence. They're continually saying it's strengthening their relationship with their children and ultimately helping them grow and learn. So with that, I think we can open it up for Q&A. So I'm going to hand it back over to Natalie, and we can get to some of the questions and answers.
Hi, thank you for that. What a wonderful presentation. Thank you both. Let's see here. This is a great question in the Q&A. Maybe Rebecca, could you tackle this one? The question is, what can educators do during the school day to support attendance?
That is a great question. And there's a lot of research around exactly what can be done. So a couple things to mention is research shows that students who feel connected to at least one person in the building are far more likely to maintain strong attendance. And this, when they define connected to, they really mention it in terms of like, would somebody notice if you were not there? So there's a lot of wonderful work being done within the school day around increasing the number of adults who have personal connections to students. And in order for this work to be done, I think, and many of you may be engaged in this work also as districts, looking beyond classroom teachers, right? Who in the cafeteria, who on your maintenance staff, who in your coaching staff can begin fostering these relationships so that students really feel seen by someone within the school day, someone that they have a connection to, someone who's checking in, someone who's noticing when they are or aren't there. There's a really wonderful process. I believe it was developed by Harvard called, a relationship mapping process, where districts are actually putting up all of the students, and teachers are going and putting a Post-it under the children, the students that they have relationships with. And then they're stepping back and they're saying, who has no Post-its under their name? And those are the students where they're really focused on interventions around really making sure that student has an adult in the building who they can personally connect with. And this is obviously shown to have a profound impact on student attendance. I mean, other things, of course, related to feeling connected to the school day, feeling that learning is personally meaningful, right? Obviously, differentiated instruction has a hugely positive impact. Project-based learning can be extremely effective. Also, what can we do as schools to make the fabric of the school a place that feels like it is welcoming and like we as students can see ourselves as a part of that school community? So that includes things like having welcome signs in students' home languages, making sure that the books on the shelves are representing students' lives. These are all things that we can be doing as schools and districts to really help ensure that students see school as a place for them. Those are just a couple things. I won't dive too deeply, but
Those are wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, this one I think Weezy would be suited for this question. How do families get enrolled in our program? How do we partner with them?
That's a great question. So we really focus on reaching as many families as possible and helping our partners kind of approach enrollment in the most equitable way. So it really starts with once, our partners come on, we sit down and do a bit of a launch planning, which can be, as short as two weeks, I would say. But in that process, they would just essentially upload some basic data into the dashboard. And this is just going to be the family's phone number, the language they speak at home, their child's date of birth, and their grade level. Once that data is in our system, our on the back end, it essentially matches that particular child's age and developmental stage with the correct curriculum leveling. And then on the first Monday after they've been launched, they'll receive a welcome message and it welcomes them to the program. It immediately kind of helps them if they're maybe their program's in the wrong language, they can navigate that, but then they can reply stop. If the parent replies stop at any moment or any time, we remove them. We don't message them again. And so that's kind of the first get it up and running stage. But it's this is when we're seeing around 90 to 95% participation rate in the program. So it is reaching as many families as possible in the most equitable way.
Great answer. Thank you. Looks like we have time for one more, and this is a great question. I think maybe Rebecca would be good for this one. The question is, our school has a lot of migrant and newcomer families, and what are the ways that educators can support those students and families in particular?
yeah, that's a great question. A lot can be done. There probably are also many organizations in your communities who are already holding trust with newcomer families and migrant populations. So partnering with those organizations, we always say like follow the line of trust, right? So if there is already a relationship in place, can that person be the one to walk the family through how school works? What are the expectations? How do you register? This can be a wonderful way to kind of inherit some of that trust as a school or district and really give families a comfortable point of entry. It's really important to peel back all of the systems, right? The invisible systems that we may not think about because we're familiar with school in the United States. So we want to make sure that we're really, really supporting families in navigating the routines of school and the expectations. Also giving everyone a strength-based point of entry. So when you've got an event going on, when you've got communications to go out, always making sure it's happening in the family's home language or that you offer language support. Also that you're giving lots of ways to participate because it can be extremely challenging. In particular, you mentioned migrant families, for migrant families to attend in-person, let's say workshops and events. So what are all the different ways that we can be supporting families, whether it's virtually, could it be meetups more where we're going to where families are going, so that, and bringing our supports to them so that we're able to, again, make family engagement as accessible as possible. I saw one question in here that just popped up, that what is the balance between holding expectations high for the families slash accountability and offering accommodations? And I want to make sure to actually just really quickly touch on this, because what we've been talking about are universal supports, right? And if we look specifically at attendance, right? Like the messaging we are giving, it's universal. It's stuff that we want everybody to hear, be oriented around. But of course, many instances arise where a parent needs more targeted intervention. They need accommodations. So we always like to say that we're a wonderful pair for those, with those more intensive interventions, but we are not those intensive interventions. So if we use attendance as an example, right, we would likely, if we had a family who was in need of additional supports, they would be sitting down with the school and coming up with an attendance plan and trying to figure out what are the supports that are going to lead to success for this family. So just something to note, that it is absolutely a balance, and is not necessarily an either or, it's an and situation.
Wonderful question. Let me see. It looks like that was the last question I saw. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone for coming today and spending some time with us and my amazing colleagues, learning more about how we can support families in your community.